What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Voice from the Corner. Here we are. It's Mental Health Monday and life in general. I am joined by a big fan of the channel, and he's here to spread his story of what he's been through. I'll explain a couple of things. He lost his wife and he lost his sister, and it caused terrible depression and anxiety. Um, this is Nick from Las Vegas. How you doing, Nick?
Good, Pete. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. Obviously, I would like to say thank you very much. You're my first guest on this Monday mental health. For me, this is very, very heart wrenching. As you already know, my brother took his own life, and I'm doing this in my brother Liam's name, and hope we can help other people. So all we're trying to do on here is spread the message. Again, this is not no specialist channel, or we got no we got no experience of what they call it. How can I say it? What would you say, Nick?
Um, yeah, just like you said. I mean, we're not medical professionals,
Yeah,
but we do go through it as human beings.
yeah. We're here to tell the stories we've all lived, and maybe we can help other people that don't want to speak to the Samaritans, people that don't want to speak to someone they don't know, because people on this channel now, it's voice from the family as well, because people have become very, very close on this channel. And so we're going to get started, Nick. And so I mean, when did it all start? I'm not going to start from when you were 4 years old. So I want to how long you've been suffering with this illness and what brought it on.
Yeah, well, I haven't been able to find my exact trigger to it yet, but I've been dealing with panic attacks in themselves since I was 15, and I'm 38 right now. And those are kind of just attacks that would come out of nowhere, probably because I was subconsciously nervous about something. And that's just something I've been battling my whole life. But then in 2013, that's when I lost my little sister. And that's when the depression, along with the anxiety, kicked in real bad because I didn't know. I knew I've dealt with losses before. I'd lost close friends to drug overdoses and stuff like that, but never lost a family member like that's that close, and having to deal with that. She was 10 years younger than me also. So I remember the day she was born. I remember growing up with her, watching her as a kid, and she was almost like my kid in a way. And just seeing her grow up from day one, and then to lose her, the depression just set in, and I shut off everything else in life for many years. I didn't turn to drugs or anything, but I might as well have, because I was just sitting in my side in my inside my house, depressed, not taking care of myself, and just thinking. My biggest thing that I take out of this, and the question I ask my therapist all the time, is how do I get past knowing that my best day on this earth has passed me now? Because in my opinion, my best day on this earth would be when my sister was alive. Now she's not here anymore, so there's nothing that can happen in my life that will be better than the worst day that I had when she was on this earth. And that's a battle that I fight on a daily basis. And it's another thing about dealing with loss. And I just kind of went with it. But I needed to get myself out of the area where I was living in New York, because it just wasn't healthy for me. That's when I moved down to Alabama. It was probably 2 years after my sister had passed, and that's where I met she was my fiance at the time, and we were all set to get married. And
Sorry, Nick. Sorry, Nick. Can I stop you there? So
yeah,
going back to your sister. Obviously, it's hard for you to talk about it. So how old was she when she died?
she was 19 years old,
Yeah.
and it was in
How did she die, Nick?
it was in a car accident. And then we found out that it was nobody knew, like, they assumed that she was on some slippery ice because it was in the winter time, and the roads were pretty bad at the time, and she just went into oncoming traffic, and they just said, she lost control of the car because of the ice. But then we found out it was a lot of the GM motor cars. One of the ones that she was driving a Grand Am at the time, and those cars had a 50-cent piece that the CEO decided not to put in that car, but that car caused the whole engine to seize up, and she had lost control of the car because of that malfunction from that one piece not being there. And because there was a lot of lawsuits involved when she lost her life. But yeah, so she lost her life, and it was needlessly. And the only positive I had that come out of it was that the guy on the scene said that she didn't feel any pain. Her neck snapped on impact, and she didn't feel any pain. Because that's another thing I dealt with, was I constantly think of what was going through her head. Like, if she broke her neck, was she sitting there paralyzed and, thinking about, the rest of her life, if she ever got to have that thought, and she didn't. And I'm actually happy that she didn't. And it got done right away, because I don't know if I would have been able to deal with my sister as a paraplegic or whatever, because she was a very active person in life, and she was very special. And I wouldn't want her to live the rest of her life thinking about what she could have done.
I mean, it must have been hard burying her. I know, experience myself. I lost my sister. How was it that last day saying goodbye,
That was tough too. That's another thing. That image is in my head because unfortunately I was at work when it happened. So I was the last one to the hospital to see her, and they were kind of rushing my family out of there because they needed that room to be open. I finally got to the hospital, and I said, I need to see my sister, but seeing her, laying there lifeless with the tube down her throat, that image will never leave my head. And it's something that, like, I honestly feel guilty when I don't think about it every day. That's another thing I'm working in therapy with, is I want to think about my sister every day. And some therapists say that's a bad thing, and, like, you got to get past it. Only remember the good things. But I feel guilty if I don't think about her in some form every day. But that image is in my head every single day. I'll come across it. And unfortunately, like, going on to my depression, like, that's where a lot of my depression comes from, is I'm dealing with that on a constant basis, but then trying to live my normal life on the side.
So obviously, listen, we know we never get over them. Yeah. We just got to learn to deal with it. Everybody deals with loss in different ways. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to alcohol. Some people get terrible depression. I mean, drugs and alcohol leads to depression anyway. So let's not say. But what I'm saying is, obviously, then you lost her. How long afterwards did you start feeling depression and anxiety?
That day was, I still remember that day was the longest night of my life. Just sitting there with, I remember I was sitting there with my elbows on my thighs, with my hands on my head. And I remember I had giant imprints and I had bruises the next day on my thighs because I was sitting in that position for probably about 11 to 12 hours straight when I got home that night, all the way until 5 o'clock in the morning, just sitting in that position and just constant racing thoughts about she's not going to be here again, remembering our last conversation and stuff like that. And knowing that I'm never going to see her again, it's like, it'd be different if she just moved away and I was never going to see her again. That'd be different. I'd know she was doing something with her life or whatever, and I just wouldn't be able to see her. But the fact that she didn't get a chance to live out her potential, it bothers me. And especially as somebody who has dealt with depression and I've been suicidal before, and I constantly answer that question of like, I'm not a very religious person, but kind of like a God, why didn't you take me type of thing. Why would you take my beautiful sister away who had all this potential in the world and leave me here? And, it's just a lot of unanswered questions that, unfortunately, I think about all the time. And I know my sister, if there's a heaven, she's sitting up there and she's like, Nick, why are you depressed like this? Go out and live your life. I'm gone. We'll meet each other again. She's probably saying that, but I still can't get past it every day. And I know she doesn't want me to be like this.
I mean, obviously, it's a silly question, but you obviously have never got over your sister dying. Obviously, we move on now to, I mean, not just one loss, but two losses, and I think it brings a lot of people together. Like myself, I lost my sister and I lost my brother, and it's strange how you lost your sister, and obviously you'll go on to your next bit now. So how far down the line was it? Do you feel? I'm not going to say it's not fair to say you moved on with your life, but do you feel you was dealing with your life a little bit better when you met your wife?
Yes, and it was just because I moved out of the area where I was, so all my memories with my sister were back home in New York, and I had all my friends there and everything. I had a good support system after she passed, but I just said, I need to get out of this atmosphere. Every time I drive by a certain restaurant where me and my sister had lunch, and stuff like that, it was just too hard to deal with. So I left and moved down to the state of Alabama in a couple of years and started a new life over. And I got myself back on track. I was, managing a retail store at the time, and met my wife in there, and she was another one. She had a lot of issues in her life, and she used to have about 20 seizures a year. So she was epileptic, and she also dealt with a lot of depression herself. And me and her we helped each other. And I was with her for 3 years, and then it was in 2018 in September, it was almost the day that my little sister was born, on September 11th. But I had got the word. Sorry, I skipped over when I asked her to marry me. I decided she wanted to have a Vegas wedding, and I said, I have plenty of family in Vegas. Why don't we just move out there? So we decided to move out there. I moved out there first, and she stayed back in Alabama to finish her cosmetology degree. And while I was gone in Vegas, that's when I got the phone call that she had passed away. And she was actually murdered by somebody trying to steal her medication. One of our close friends that we knew, he was bad on drugs, and we used to just try and help him out here and there. And after I left, she was very vulnerable and broke into her house, robbed all of her stuff, robbed her cars, and choked her to death and just left her there. And that's another thing that I had to deal with, being out in Vegas, not being able to protect her. There's a lot of guilt built up.
So yeah, but I mean, you headed to Vegas to make a better life for you both. You was obviously setting up. Yeah, you was setting up home and all that in Vegas. So I think for me, you got to take the positive out of that. I mean, but to know that she got murdered, I mean, like you say, just not getting over your sister, but learning to deal with your sister. The love of your life comes to your life, and she gets murdered. I mean, it's absolutely horrendous, So, what happened after that? How did you feel after that? Did you go spiral downhill?
Yeah, that's when I spiraled downhill, and that's kind of what leads me to where I am today. Right now, I'm just not a functional human being. I can't get out much because I have breakdowns all the time, whether it's a mental breakdown or these panic/anxiety attacks that I get almost on a daily basis. it's it's a lot of stuff, and it's almost like I choose to think about both of those losses every single day and try to deal with it instead of putting it off or whatever. But I just feel like I'm gonna be dealing with it for the rest of my life, and it's to the point now where, especially with the girlfriend thing, like I almost don't want to get too close to people because I got very too close to those two people in my life, and now they're gone, and it's so hard when they're gone. I can deal with losses of my friends and stuff like that. I've dealt with them, but those two losses were different for me, and I don't ever want to have to deal with it again. So my family, I can't help. My family's going to be there. If one of them loses, if I lose one of them, that's just going to happen. But I've kind of chose just to not date anybody, not get in long-term relationships, because I don't want something wrong to happen. And
Yeah.
it's a bad thing to do for for your health. But that's the choice I make every day, and I know it's not good.
Did the man that done it get arrested?
Yes, yes, he got arrested, and he's doing his life in jail.
Yeah. I bet you would love to go and see him and say, why did you do it?
Yeah, to be honest, like I mean, I had a lot of anger built up in me at first, and I was just like, I was calling people back in Alabama, like, "Hey, get to this guy before if the cops let him off on on whatever, like before the sentencing, if they would have let him like go home before the trial or whatever." I was like, if they ever let this kid go, make sure you find him and take care of him for me, until I get down there. But cops kept him in custody the whole time. They didn't let him go. He had to stay in jail until trial. And then when he went to trial, they found him guilty, and he's in jail the rest of his life. But now, yeah, I would just like to talk to him and just be like, and I'm sure the kid was a bad kid. He was into drugs and stuff. We tried to help this kid out many times, but I just wanted him to be honest and tell me that, like, look, man, I was messed up on drugs. I needed some of those pills so I can get money to get my drugs, and that was my life back then. And I'm sorry, and I'd love to hear that from him, but I don't think I'll ever go back to Alabama and especially not go back and visit that guy in prison or anything. And I'll never have closure on that part. But I would hope that that's what he would say is, it was the drugs. I was, me, I'm a bad druggie. And I would hope he would say that I'm exactly where I should be, right in jail for the rest of my life.
Would you forgive him if he said sorry?
Absolutely not. No. I would understand it. And like that's what he should say, but no way I would forgive him. No, because I don't deal with drug addictions or anything, but I go through my daily struggles on a daily basis. And I always say, like, it's okay to go through depression. It's okay to go through drug addiction. But when it starts affecting other people's lives, that's when you got to stop being selfish and you got to be a bigger man. Even with my depression, when it starts affecting other people's lives, if I hanging around with a group of friends and I'm constantly negative all the time and I'm, who cares? My life's over at this point. I'm not going to do anything with my life. Nobody wants to hear that. And it's not a very it makes for a negative atmosphere. And that's why I just try to be as positive as I can around other people, just in case they're dealing with something.
Yeah, I mean, so how do you deal with a day-to-day life now then, Nick? I mean, you have been through it, mate. You've been through it. And, tell the listeners how you deal with day-to-day life. Or are you dealing with it? Did you turn to drink? Did you turn to drink or not?
No, nothing. No alcohol, no drugs. I mean, I've been in therapy for years and I'm on medication for it. So I'm on the medication, but that's more for the anxiety attacks that I get. The panic attacks I have almost on a daily basis, and when I get bad panic attacks, my blood pressure shoots up. It's been as high as 190 over 160 before, just off a panic attack. And that's just laying in my bed. Sometimes I lay in my bed for 20 hours a day, Pete, and I'll go through my phone for maybe 10 of those hours. I'll try to read a book, but there's no ambition whatsoever for me to get up and do anything with my life, because I feel like it's just over. I'm only 37, and but those two instances in my life, I just keep saying, like, I'm just not going to have happiness in my life. I'm living on a flat line pretty much. So I'm here, but I'm never happy. Even though if you see me here and I seem like I'm okay, I'm never going to be genuinely happy, because I know that as soon as I get off of this chat with you, I'm going right back into depression mode. And it's just a switch that I can't control, but it's there. So that's why I constantly seek out stuff throughout the day. And that's why I was happy when I found your channel, because it gave me something to do for a couple hours. And I would say, oh, Voice from the Corner's on. I got something to do for the next hour. But I'm constantly having to think of stuff hour by hour to do to get my mind off of all that other stuff. Because if I don't occupy my mind with something positive, it's going to go into a downward spiral. And there's been days where I just sit there and think of my sister all day. I lay in bed. I only get up to eat and go to the bathroom, and I just think about my sister, just thoughts and memories of my sister all day. And that's it.
I mean, but, you've made a brave decision to come on here and obviously tell everybody else what you've gone through. And what you got to realize is you're not a waste of time. Like you're living. You're living. What we got to look at is your sister's hopefully up there with my sister, in heaven. Your wife. So ain't about saying let's be positive. It's more about saying I think you've got a message to spread to people, and I think your message, your spread to people, will help other people, and inside that should make you feel good as well, And I believe in energies, and I believe people meet each other for the right reasons, and I believe I started this channel for the right reasons. I could have probably got into that, depression, real depression mode. But have you ever been diagnosed with anything like bipolar or anything like that?
Yeah, I was bipolar, severe depression since I was 15. And, but now that since my little sister's passing, I throw PTSD in there, and I have that as well. So yeah, I got the bipolar depression and PTSD. And then on the side of that, I have the uncontrolling anxiety and panic attacks that just come out of nowhere that I have to deal with. And that's more of a physical feeling as opposed to the mental battle that I fight all day. I'm constantly avoiding the physical effects of like a panic attack. Like just getting out and driving to the store that's 5 minutes away from my house is a task for me. I have to sit there, and a lot of people listening to this can probably relate. Like I have to sit there and pace in front of the door because of my social anxiety now, because my mind is just constantly all over the place with negativity. And I know it's not supposed to be like that, but it just is. So when I go out, I feel like I have all that negativity, and I feel like I'm wearing it on like a suit that's on me. I'm not, nobody can see it, but it's just the way I feel in my head. And I get that feeling that everyone's looking at me, and I look like a mess, and I'm not in as good a shape because I let myself go physically after my wife passed. So I don't have a lot of self-confidence now. And it's just hard to do, the simple daily tasks in life. Like I said, I got to pace in front of my door. I went to therapy today. It's 2 minutes down the road. I had to pace in front of my door for a half hour on whether or not I'm going to be able to make it there. And sometimes I just call in. I say I can't make it, and then I just go lay back in the bed. And that's my life.
So the word mental, you never come to take part. You come to take over because you've got a lot going on, you know, a lot of different, you know. What makes you happy, Nick? What makes you happy? Is there anything that makes you happy?
Man, a couple of months ago, my therapist asked me the same question. I'm going to be dead honest with you. I didn't have an answer. And it's just because I'm being honest. This is exactly what I told the therapist. I said, I could sit here and give you some bullshit answer and just say, sorry for swearing, but
no,
I can give you a BS answer and just say, you know, like boxing makes me happy. And it does for a small period of time. But the way my mind works is anytime I get happy, and you know, you can feel that happiness rush. Anytime I get that, my mind automatically shoots to my sister or my fiance or both, in that they're not here. So as soon as my life kind of peaks, my mind shuts it right down, and it says, you're happy right now, but your sister's not here anymore, so you can't be happy. And it just shuts it right down. Anytime I have a glimpse of happiness in my life. And so I look for things that are going to make days better than others. And that's why, like, I'm such a big fan of boxing. I'm into it. Following it helps me pass the time. But to be honest, there's no happiness there. I'm happy to meet you, and I'm happy to be on your channel, but it's a different kind of happiness. It's not genuine happiness. It's just not going to last for me. And it has nothing to do with anybody else other than the way I think. Like, I think there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And like I said, I'm kind of just sitting here waiting to die. I mean, it's the way I feel, and it's just being honest. And I don't have an answer for it. And like I said, my therapist asked me that same question, and he was baffled that I didn't have an answer. And I said, there's nothing. I said, I don't know what makes me happy anymore.
Yeah, but he's baffled.
I tried to look for it.
He's baffled. You never had an answer. But he ain't wearing your shoes. I'm not wearing your shoes. I don't know how you feel inside your head. So obviously going back to waiting to die, you're sitting there waiting to die. Have you ever thought about taking your own life?
Yes, and I checked myself into an institution. It was about a year after my wife had passed, and I checked myself in because I was, you know, like I said, I was never into drugs, but I knew a lot of people who could get them for me, and I made some contacts to get a couple of pills of fentanyl, and I was just gonna, you know, I was having to stay with my mom at the time because I was so bad. I couldn't be in my own house by myself. Somebody had to be there because I was having so many attacks and stuff. And I was just going to leave my mom's house one day and take them on the streets right on South Las Vegas Boulevard my mom used to live on. And I was just going to do it like that and take the easy way out. And I've always said, and I know your brother committed suicide, and I always just felt like, and I'm not trying to knock anybody thinking about it or whatever, but I've always said myself that taking your own life is very selfish. And I always hated on people who thought about taking their lives or whatever. I said, it's the most selfish thing you could do. Don't think about how it affects your family and everything. But I said all that, and I set it up until the day where I was about to do it. And but I stepped aside, and I just made that one last cry for help, and it kind of helped everybody else around me that they could see what I was dealing with, but they didn't take it serious enough. And when I was thinking about taking my own life and I had planned it out and everything, it kind of woke up the people around me. So, like, that's another thing I could tell people is, like, open up to people because they might just not know. And when people around me found out, that's when the phone calls started coming in and saying, like, Nick, I didn't know you were taking this hard. I didn't know you still didn't get over the loss of your sister and stuff like that. And it opened up bridges to talking to people and stuff like that. And it was just because I wouldn't reach out to enough people before. And when I made that one little, reach out to a hospital and started talking in group therapy, talking to my therapist, and just being honest about everything, and not telling people what they wanted to hear about, because I don't want to lie about my depression and say, yeah, I got over my sister. It doesn't bother me at all. It does bother me, and I want people to know that. Anybody who knows me, I want them to know that I lost my little sister. That's why I wear my wristband of my sister. Like, I want them to ask what that is, and I want them to say, like, that's my little sister, and I miss her every single day. And help bring her back into the world, type of thing.
I mean, Nick, if this is any consolation, I mean, I'm obviously taking notice of what you're saying, but I'm seeing stuff on the side, as well as myself. But this channel is a channel of friends. At the end of the day, this is the easiest way to talk, I think, because you're in your home, I'm in my home. Well, I'm in Prague at the moment, but I'm in my home. And everybody else is in their homes, and everybody on this channel is together. And I think everybody is trying to spread the same message, and you coming out and telling your story, listen, you don't realize that might help another 100 people. It might help another 1,000 people. But you're saying it is, you're being real. You're not saying, oh yes, I'm doing this, I'm doing that now. You're being honest, and you're saying how hard it is. But the biggest words for me, what you said there, is when you turned around and said, taking your own life is a coward's way out, because it's what you leave behind. So my brother leaving his family, he left his dad behind. My dad brought all of us up on his own. So, sometimes it's good. Listen, sometimes people can't think and people just do it. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit here. I mean, it's a little bit like the virus was going around. People have got this thing on it, and so people have got this side on it. Let's be neutral here, and be positive here. But everyone's got their opinions on it. But what you've just said there, for me, is absolutely bang on. So now, obviously, you don't think like that. Do you think just what to do with yourself if you're in a bad place?
Yeah, and my main thing, it's like you touched on earlier, is my main thing for the rest of my life is just trying to help people, especially with the mental health. Just talking to everybody, and that's another thing. Like, I'm very open and I'm very honest with everybody I meet, because I want them to feel like they could talk to me about anything. And to be honest, I want to talk to them about stuff, because that's the one thing. Like I said before, I don't really have an answer to what makes me happy, but if I was to sit down with somebody who's really having problems and they were to say, man, thanks for listening, Nick, and I appreciated your input, that would give me some happiness in my life, and it would make me feel accomplished in life. Because that's another problem I have, is I don't feel accomplished every day living if I'm not doing something to help somebody else.
But you found the place now. You found the place. You found the channel, because listen, you can become an ambassador of this channel at the end of the day, Nick. Because you spread your story first, and on the other side of the coin, that sometimes when someone else is on the channel and you're taking the story, you've got to listen to their story, because the best thing to do is listen, then jump in and get involved. And so it's good to listen to someone's story, and then if you want to put your little bit of input in at the end. But we all know, before you walk, it's great to talk. I like that saying. Like, before you walk, it's great to talk, because some people can't walk. Some people can't walk. Some people don't get out of that bed. But you can have your phone, or you can have your laptop on the side of that bed, and you can pick it up and think, you know what, I'm going to get on that channel today, and I'm going to, where is there any channels out there like this? There's no channels out there like this, I don't think.
No,
You know,
No, it's not. No.
you know. So like I said, we did do Voice from the Corner mental health, and up a separate channel. But like you say, there is stigma around mental health still. There is stigma around it. People come on Voice from the Corner because it's a boxing channel, but really, people hide behind the boxing channel to tell their story. You know what I mean? Or listen to other people's stories. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's so if you're in a bad place. So, Nick, before we finish, I'll just a couple of questions I want to ask because I want you to tell the people who are watching and listening. So, with your depression and your anxiety and all that sort of stuff, obviously you have medication.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about if you're feeling so low? What would you do? What would you advise people, or if people feel low now?
My advice would be just to find somebody. And to anybody on here, I would just offer at least my email address. I'll put it in the comment section or whatever. But I would at least offer myself. But you got to have that one person to reach out to. And also, I would say if you notice somebody who's going through something, I used to be the type of person, even when people would ask me, I would sit there and say, no, man, I'm good. I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. And then they would be like, okay. Sometimes if you really see somebody hurt and you kind of sit there and have a talk with them, just say, hey, man, let's have an honest talk, even if it's for 5 minutes. And same thing if you're going through it, reach out to somebody and you'd be surprised if it's somebody you're like, I only talk sports with this person and I don't think we could connect on that level. You'll be surprised on how many people sit there and listen. And most people out there, they have sympathy for mentally ill people, even people that don't understand it. Because that's the one thing I wouldn't go ask people because I was afraid that they're not going to understand and it's going to be a worthless conversation. So I was afraid to ask it first, but just talk, find a starting point and talk to somebody. And even like I said, if it's getting out and just sending a simple email to somebody, like I said, I'll put my email down here and you can write me an email and I'll absolutely hit you back with something positive. Or if you want to just sit there and ramble off a bunch of stuff, I'll sit there and ramble with you. But because like I said, I need a purpose in life. So I'm there to help out anybody. But like I said, just find that one person and talk. That would be my main thing.
Right, Nick. When we finish very soon, we are going to go back on for questions and answers. We'll put your email in the box if anyone wants to email you. Send a message to you. And what I'm basically gonna do is I will come off screen. I will let you be on screen on your own, and you can answer the questions. I'll click the questions, and then you can just fire away and answer them. So again, everybody who's on here, I'm seeing loads of people saying that they've just started medication and all that sort of stuff. Nick, for me, would be the man to listen. It might not be the same medication; it might be totally different, but he's obviously been through that side of things. And it's great for Nick to share his story with us. I would love Nick to get involved with the channel because I think he could be beneficial for other people's stories and helping other people out. And like you say, Nick, it's a purpose in life. I mean, if you don't feel like coming on, you don't come on. But when you've got something to get up for and you think, you know what, maybe you in your heart, you can do it in your sister's name and you can do it in, why can't we merge two channels together? You said you wanted to start a channel. It's not the hardest thing in the world to start a channel, but we'd love you on Voice from the Corner to, always come on, talk about your love. The only love you've got now is boxing. And, it's a story which has took me back, Nick, and all the best in the future. And everybody that's listening, respect to Nick, where Nick's come from. And he will be coming on very soon again in the next 10 minutes to answer questions. So we're going to leave this one here. And great to have Nick from Las Vegas as my first guest on Monday's Mental Health and Life. I might even just call it Monday Life, because it's life, isn't it?
I like when you say, whatever you said yesterday about like, it's not depression, it's life.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Before I go, I will say this. Cancer is in everyone's body. And so is mental illness. It's a trigger that needs to be triggered. So if that trigger's triggered, you've got cancer. You've got mental health problems. So that's life, in my opinion. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. Like my flip got switched, and I'm just working a daily battle to find out how to turn it off, or at least learn how to live with it and live a positive life.
Nick, it was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again very soon. Well, we'll be seeing you in the next 10 minutes, but again very soon. And I'm sure you'll be helping people. And we will be back in 10 minutes for Nick to answer the questions live. Nice one, everyone. Please subscribe, share, and tell your friends. And tell anybody that's suffering in silence. Because everybody's got a voice and everyone's got a choice. Nice one. Have a great day, everyone.
Been an honor, Pete.
Thank you.